It's really warm for Christmas. It's like 73 degrees outside. I mean, it feels really good. But the wintertime is supposed to be cold, unless you're in, California or Arizona or a place like that. Now, I hate being one of those people that's like focusing on the negative and like always talking about how fucked up everything is. But I also don't want to be one of those like happy-go-lucky, whimsical airheads that has their head in the clouds all the time, Because as nice as it would be to not think about things and not look into anything further, it would be nice to just not have that curiosity, because with that curiosity comes a lot of pain and heartache, and I've just been thinking so much about like how it's nice to be ignorant. That's why they say ignorance is bliss. It's nice to not ever be blindsided. Like if you're blindsided, you don't know that you're blindsided. So all these motherfuckers, like my parents, and so much of the baby boomer generation, and so much of my generation, millennials, it's like they think that everything that's going on has to go on. It's necessary. Like, if we're locked down or we're forced to wear masks or we're told we can't go this place because we haven't decided to be a guinea pig, it's like, oh, that's just for our protection, like they just can't grapple with the idea that like maybe there are bad people that work in the governments and the companies and the corporations work alongside these powerful people, and they push all this stuff that's like really, really bad for the human race. And unfortunately, the human race is pretty stupid, and so they just soak all that shit up. And I know I talk about the phones a lot, but the phones are the problem. Like, they really are. They're exacerbating what horrible characteristics we already possess, whether we're lazy or irresponsible or selfish, thoughtless. Now, if you're a good person with good intentions and you are innovative, then you'll use the technology to benefit yourself and others. But unfortunately, that group is much smaller than the former group. So it's hard to make excuses for something that is destroying the majority of people. But then you look at them and you're like, well, were they even people to begin with, or are they just Americans? And I know that it sounds mean, but it's like, I'm an American and I've never felt attached to my country at all, because of the fact that so many people that live here are just totally brainwashed. And then they gloat about it. They gloat about freedom when they're a fucking slave in ways that they'll never understand, because much like with psychiatric medication and the medication that they're pushing right now, they've convinced people that it's their, they're doing it for the greater good, So if it's your choice, if they can fool you into thinking that you're doing the right thing. And so if you're doing the right thing, then that's a brainwashing tactic right there. But it's like, you know, the whole pro-choice argument involving women's right to rip out their offspring whenever they want. You know, that is a really good example of how they use the language to manipulate people. You know, the word choice is a really powerful word. It's not like women really believe in choices. They think that they're suckered into everything because they have a vagina. But, you know, I think a lot of people have that mentality, though. It's not just females. But, I get so sad, though. Like, when I say I'm depressed, that just means I'm really, really sad about the state of society. And I'm not going to pretend that everything's fine. You know, we're like, oh, well, I have Jesus. So, you know, like, I feel like that's so cheap. Because as much as I can rejoice in that, there's so many people that can't because they're so brainwashed. So I'm really weeping for them. I'm really weeping for the state of the world and the fact that so many people are going to burn in hell, you know? Because they're convinced that everything's fine. And they trust any and every authority figure but God, which is just proof right there that everybody's fucking doomed, man. But at least they won't know it, right? At least they won't know it. So I guess they're lucky in that regard. Maybe we're unlucky in the fact that, oh, we know about gulags and we know about the police state and, you know, because it's like we're just in that future of, like what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, you know, like people can just draw all these horrible, horrible conclusions, and even if they're totally right, it's like you're going to waste all this time that you have now freaking out about the future. And it's a good thing to be cognizant of what could happen, what would happen, what probably will happen, but at the same time, I just want to be in the present moment. So, you know, if and when I end up in a gulag, it's like, well, at least I enjoyed myself up until this point. And, you know, who says that you can't have fun in a gulag? I mean, shit. If you have Christ, I mean, that's a positive thing, you know, like you can rejoice in that. So this idea that we need all these things in order to be happy, and the freedom that they promise us, like, oh, so I guess we don't have that anymore. Maybe we never had that to begin with. You know, it's like, I'm free because I'm in a fucking tunnel, man. I'm in a tunnel. Like, they're gonna have a really hard time getting to me. Because this is kind of shit that I do, and I don't care. I guess they could have, like, police officers waiting at the end of the tunnel or something. They can arrest me. But this is why I'm friends with spiders. This is why I'm friends with random insects that I meet along the way. This is why I'm friends with bumblebees and possums and chipmunks and shit, because it's way more preferable, you know, to hang out with, you know, the other creatures of the world than the ones that we call humans, but they don't really act like humans, do they?